you were born where, Ma?
Mill Creek, Indiana, just a little east of LaPorte, Indiana.
Okay, and east of LaPorte, Indiana?
Yes.
Okay, when did you move to South Bend?
Oh, when I was about 4 weeks old.
4 weeks old. Okay. Then what did Grandpa Trzynski, what was he doing at that time? What?
Well, he got a job at Oliver's.
Pick Oliver's? Wasn't it pick just Oliver's?
That's the hotel.
Oh, okay.
Oliver Chill Plow
Okay.
Corporation.
Okay. What did he do?
I don't know. Worked on a machine, made plows.
Okay. Now, he was one of how many children?
9 children.
And Grandma Trzynski, when did you don't remember how old they were when they got married, Grandpa and Grandma Trzynski?
I have no idea.
How many children did Grandma Trzynski have? I mean, what was her name?
Molesky.
Molesky?
Yes.
And how many children did they have?
They had 13, and 2 died when they were little. So there were 9 children left.
Wait a minute.
11.
Wait a minute. 13?
Oh, I'm sorry, 11 children. 11 children.
Okay. Dad,
But my dad's people had 9 children. And
okay.
my grandmother Molesky had 11 that lived.
That's a lot of birthday cards. Dad, how many, Grandpa Trzynski was an only child, right?
Grandpa Trzynski.
I mean, Grandpa Goshert was an only child.
Yeah.
But
Well, you see, his mother died when he was 4 years old.
That's okay.
And then his father married later on. I don't know how old Dad was. He looked around in his teens someplace. And he had 2 half-sisters then. Ruth and Anna were half-sisters.
How about Grandma Goshert? What was her maiden name?
Minnie Myrtle Grab.
And where was she from originally?
Milford, Indiana.
Milford, Indiana. So
Yeah.
they were both. Were they in Milford when they got married?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't know how old she was when she got married?
No, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't remember. I was told, but it's too long ago for me to remember.
Do you remember? You don't know how old? Did I ask you how old they were when they got married then?
That's what you just said.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And then you lived on that farm until you were how old?
21. 20. See, I was 22.
On that same farm that you were
Yeah.
born on?
Yeah.
And then they bought that farm next to that. What highway was that on?
Oh, that small retiree place.
Yeah.
They bought that in 1921.
Were you still there when they bought it? With
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
They were
was.
on the big farm.
I was on the big farm, and they
Okay. Then what? How old were you when you got married?
21.
Okay. And her name was?
Bertha Vandermark.
And you had 2 children.
Yep.
Which one came first, Doris or Dick?
Doris. Doris is the oldest.
Doris is the oldest, and she's where at now?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. And then you had Dick.
Dick,
How many months apart?
Oh, they're,
She was 4 years old and we were 5 years
I was going to say 5 years. Yeah, about 5 years apart.
Okay. Now your wife died in the birth of Dick.
Yeah.
Okay. Did they?
1928.
28. Did they ever tell you exactly what went wrong?
With
And
what?
why did she die?
She had an abscess on her uterus.
Oh.
And in those days, you had no penicillin or no nothing. And when the child was born, when Dick was born, it just blew up. And they opened her up after she died, and it was over 2 gallon of clotted
Infection.
pus in her bowels, around her bowels.
So you were living where at that time?
South Bend, Indiana, or Mishawaka, Indiana.
What were you doing there?
I was working for a ball band, for a rubber company. Now it's U.S. Royal.
Yeah,
I didn't-
when she died, I thought you were working for Bendix.
Well, when she died, oh yeah, that's right. When she died, I was working for Bendix.
And you
Yeah,
were
that's
in
right.
South Bend.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No.
after that, did you stay in South Bend?
Yeah.
Okay, then you met Ma while living at Uncle Harold and Aunt Clara's.
Ma's sister.
Okay,
Mom.
you met Mom's sister. Okay, and then you met Ma.
Yeah.
And then what were you doing at that? Were you working, Ma?
I sure was.
Where
I
at?
was working for Chrisman Company.
I'll make sure that thing is going. Yeah, it's going. It goes so slow, I can't tell if it's going or not. What company?
Chrisman.
What is that, a store?
Construction buildings for factories.
Okay, and you were what they commonly referred to as a flapper at that time and
Oh.
swept Dad off his feet with the 23 Skidoo.
I imagine.
Then how long did you date before you got married? How many weeks?
We started dating July 4th, but I knew him long before because he was staying with Clara.
Uh-huh.
July 4th, and we were married October 30th.
Boy, that was pretty fast. Then how fast did Jack come along?
6 years later.
6 years
let's
later?
back up, honey. July 4th, you were in Indianapolis.
Yeah, well, the last of July.
And it was along the latter part of July that we
Yes.
really started dating.
Yes.
Okay, then
Stan,
and then you stayed at Bendix that whole time. You worked at Bendix. Okay, and then when you got married, how long did you work before
I didn't work then.
you quit work? Okay. Okay, so
Now,
Jack,
you want to know the reason?
why?
I had a depression on. I was in a depression. And Crispin's, along with the Chamber of Commerce and the rest of the small organizations around there, had made an agreement. If the husband was working, the wife couldn't work.
Yes, but I wasn't laid off because of that.
I thought you was.
No, I was laid off because Honor Gibson had surgery, and I took her place to work. And because Acme Builders, the place that I worked for about 8 years, collapsed during Depression. So I went temporarily to Chrisman's. But then, Chrisman's were going to get me an associate's, and because I was married and you worked, I was not able to get in. You are right.
Okay, now when you got, where did you live after you got married? Where did you live when you got married?
Been with her folks for a while.
No, we lived in an apartment on
Oh,
Carroll.
yeah, on Carroll.
Then we moved to Rowinski Street. Then we moved on Sherman Avenue. Then we moved with my folks.
Okay. Then Jack came along 6 years later
And
In Milwaukee,
in Milwaukee.
Wisconsin.
That was that job you tried on for size up there?
Yes,
Didn't work out very well.
that's right.
And then you had Jack, and he was such a hideous baby that you slept in
All right,
you
now
slept
never
in
mind,
different
never mind,
you
never
slept in
mind,
different
your
houses
brothers.
for another how many years before I came along and it
Oh,
restored your
God
faith
forbid.
in where he was born in Wisconsin?
He was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on Astor Street.
Okay, and then after that, how fast after that you moved to South Bend after the local residents found out that
Bill,
you had
I will
you gave
not
birth
go on with this.
you gave
Now
birth
stop.
to an antichrist.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
of it is, the pitiful part of it was, Jack was one of them kind of babies that had a colic, perpetual colic. And what I mean, it was perpetual colic.
Is that he still?
And we couldn't get anybody, any doctors, to give us any kind of help of any kind And Mother was wearing out and so forth, so we decided to come back down to South Bend, and that's when we moved in with her folks. We brought Jack down, and some of the old ladies around there said, well, it'll be a year, and the collie will leave him.
And it's still going on.
And that's
No,
exactly what happened.
We went to Dr. Canoe.
Well, I know we went to Dr. Canoe, and he put him on Jello water.
I didn't know colic had anything to do with ugliness, though.
I refuse to go on with this.
Okay,
Stop
so...
it. He's my top baby.
Okay, so he sure is. So then, how much after that was I born?
God forbid, 7 years later.
And you had, I was such a beautiful baby that you decided to have another one real quick, and you had Jim.
33 months later.
33, and then after you had Jim, that put an end to it. You slept in separate houses from then on, right?
That's terrible.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see now, when you...
But when Jack was 18 months, no, when he was 2 years old, we moved to Dayton. Dad was working for an insurance company. And then he was transferred to Louisville, Kentucky when Jack was 4 years old. But when Jack was 5, war broke out, and Dad was working for DuPont Company at that time. And his folks
Where at?
in
Charleston, Indiana.
Charleston, Indiana. And then we decided we better get on to
Well, there was
South Bend.
gasoline rations.
Yes,
You could only get so much gasoline.
I was going to say that. And because of the fact of gasoline shortage, we decided to come back because his father wasn't feeling good at all. So we moved back to South Bend so we could be close to both families, and Dad again got a job at Bendix.
Okay. So then you were back at Bendix, and Grandpa Trzynski was still working at Bendix, of course, at that time.
Yes, he worked all.
How old was he when he finally got retired from Bendix?
Well, he never told his age, and you didn't have to at that time. He was a very young-looking man, and he worked there till he was 75.
Oh, no, he wasn't that old.
Yes, he was.
Huh?
Yes, he was.
He was 75 years old, and he was still working?
Either 72 or 75, and then Social Security came in, and he had to tell his age, and at that time, Social Security took over.
And also pension. He got a small pension from Bendix.
Up until that time, they didn't even have a pension program?
No.
What department were you working in at that time, Dad?
What was I working in?
Yeah.
Well, I started out as a
Timekeeper.
no. Well, that was before that. But this time I was a
Not an
I directed what they were doing in the department. What did they
expediter?
Huh?
Expediter?
No, not expediting. Oh well.
All right,
I worked up in the factory for a while as a job assignment man. That's what it was, job assignment. And then I got transferred to the office, and then I was expediter for material that's for material out there coming in from outside the plant. And then they made me transferred to another department, or another building, another plant. And I was supervisor of production and material control over there for quite a while. And then, during all the layoffs and transfers around and so forth, I was back in Plant 3 again, setting up a supervisor of job assignment in Plant 3.
Now that was about what year then? When you got that,
Oh,
50s?
brother, that was
before
about...
Jim was born. That was about 44, 45.
Oh, no, it was before, but way after that happened.
Well, Jim was born in 47.
This was along about, when I was supervisor back there at Plant 3, it was about 55.
Harold,
55.
you went to work.
Then I went from there into purchasing.
Okay. And Ma,
I
you
went
met...
from there into purchasing as a buyer, and that was where I worked the last 10 years.
Now, when did you...
18, honey.
Well, I didn't work 18 years as a buyer.
Oh, all right.
Goodness gracious.
But you know, you forgot you went to Wells Fargo.
Well, I know, but
Okay, that's it.
Now, Ma, when did you return to work for the city?
Well, Jack was a junior at Purdue. And, of course, I
I'll be
was...
about 1958.
Oh, he got married in 59.
He
Yeah.
graduated in
Yeah.
59.
Well,
So he was
anyway,
still bleeding you when he was going to
yeah,
Purdue?
I refused to go on. Well, anyway, he was in ROTC, and I was in politics in South Bend, and I was a precinct committee man. Now, he went to summer camp up in Michigan and could not get a job for the summer because it was too late.
You mean Air Force summer camp?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Air Force.
He was studying to be a pilot, and
That was his officer training, honey, officer training.
all right, officers training. And I then was offered job after job, and I said, yes, at that time I will take it to help Jack. And I
Okay.
went into the police department in the records room where I worked for 8 years until the Republicans took over. And that was it for us thumbprints. Amen.
And then you went to, then you got switched.
No,
Did they ask?
then I had surgery. I had quite a surgery. And that was in November. And then in last of February, Frida Noble called me and said, you've got to come to work. I want you to come out and help in the tax department. And I didn't feel I wanted to, but she talked me into it. So I went down there and worked just temporary. And then, of course, later on, I went to the surveyor's office where I worked for 5 years.
Okay.
Well, I retired in 69.
69. Okay, and you retired when you were 36 years old, right?
That's right.
Now, what was I going to ask you about? Now, when did Grandpa Goshert and Grandma Goshert come live with us?
In
Jack wasn't there. In 1954, because she died, yes, in 1954, about October, and she died in 55, and was buried on Good Friday. I'll never forget that.
We had to scramble to remodel a house.
They came in 54, and she died when?
55.
She died 1 year later?
Not 1 year.
She come in the fall of
October,
54, died in
March.
March of 55.
Oh, I didn't know it was that fast.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Grandpa lived with us then till 1962, and he died.
Okay, and he was how old when he died?
92.
92.
And
Okay.
Grandma was
80.
80.
Okay, and then at that point, Grandpa willed a portion of the farm to Dick.
No. Everything went to Dad, and Dad gave Dick.
How many acres?
And 1 3/4 acres.
1 3/4.
Now,
And that's where...
There were 26 acres there altogether where Dad lived.
Okay, and that's where he still lives. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Then let's see. You were still working when Grandpa Goshert died, and what? Let's see. He died at what year?
62.
So I was out of high school,
You
and
just entered. When we took him to the hospital, he went to the hospital and you went into service.
okay, and he was in the hospital for about 3 or 4 weeks before he died.
No, he went the last of September, about the 21st of September, and he died, I think, the 3rd of December. And he was...
13th of December.
Maybe. I'll have to see.
Okay, now my only aunt is Aunt Clara Hensel, and she married
Harold Welcome Hensel.
Harold Welcome Hensel, and they got married before you.
Oh my, yes. They got married in 1923.
23, okay, and then they
He
had...
never did ask when we got married.
Oh, when did you get married?
October 30th, 1930, when Dad was 30 years old.
30 years old, and you were 16.
I was hitting 26.
26, and he was 30.
And I was still having a great time.
Well, that's what they say, but we can't get into that on film anyway. What? Let's see. Where were you married? What church?
Sacred Heart Rectory at that time. Father LeCouver buried us.
Why didn't you go to St. Stanislaus with all the other Poles?
Because
Isn't that the
not really.
parish
Not
you were
really.
in?
Yes, that was the parish I was in.
You know, on that subject, Grandpa Trzynski died in what year? I was in high school, so it had to be about...
1955. Grandma Goshert died in March 1955, and he died in September 1955.
Oh, okay.
The 12th of September.
All right, well, I was in grade school then. And then, no, I was about in 5th grade, wasn't I? At that time?
Jim was 9 years old, I know, so you must have been what?
About 11, so I was about in 5th grade. And Grandma needed somebody to stay over her house, so I stayed with her for about how long?
I just don't remember.
And I remember one night I was there for...
Stayed over there quite a while because we were remodeling. Him and Jim both stayed there, didn't they?
No, just me.
Just he.
Jim wouldn't have done any good.
We were remodeling the house in 55.
Yeah.
Well, I remember one night when I was there to protect Grandma, and one night I woke up and I saw something at the foot of the bed with a hat on it, and I said, oh my God, somebody's in there. So I crawled under the covers and shook all night long, and woke up the next morning, and Grandma had put her coat and her hat on top of the chair, and I thought somebody was there in after us. So I must have been pretty good trying to take care of her. Okay, so then she moved in with Aunt Clara after that, didn't she?
Yeah. Clara moved on Marine Street. They bought a house and she moved from Linden Avenue to Marine. That's the time my mother moved with her.
Now you were on the corner of Studebaker and Linden.
That's right.
Okay, and then when did you move into the Furbringer? About when?
Well, we were living on Studebaker, about a block away from my folks. We were renting a house.
Yeah.
And then Grandpa owned the house on Furbringer, and the renter died. And so Grandpa said, you might as well move in. So, of course, we moved in on Furbringer.
How many homes did Grandpa Trzynski own at that time?
4.
4? Okay, so that's where you lived
Yeah.
from then on, and rebuilt it from the ground up. Okay, then when Jack came along after he started school, did he go to Colfax for...
Never.
He went right into
He went
Holy
to
Cross?
Holy Cross when we lived on Studebaker Street, and he continued
They had a kindergarten at Holy Cross, or did
No,
they just wait till
no,
first grade?
First grade.
Okay, then he went to South Bend Central Catholic.
For 1 year.
And then
until
St. Joe.
St. Joe was finished.
Okay. Alrighty,
And
then,
his class was the first class graduated out of St. Joe High.
okay. Alrighty, now, Dad, okay, now, the year is 1965.
65.
And I'm fighting for my country in Vietnam, and Dad is 64 and a half, and Bendix starts laying off, and then they retire you early, right?
Yep.
Oh, not early. From March to September. I don't know. That's just a little shot in between after
Okay.
all.
All right, then how long did you live in the house before you went ahead and sold it and went and moved into the apartment?
Which one asked you when you? Oh, you know.
Well,
We sold it in December of what?
68.
68, and we moved to the Blackwood Apartments immediately.
Yeah.
That was
in December. We
three
sold
flights up.
2 flights.
Well, you were on the 3rd story, weren't you?
No, we were on, there was a basement, and then the 1st floor and the 2nd floor.
Okay. And then you stayed there how long?
Well, we didn't stay. We stayed there 11 months because we did not get our refund back because we weren't there a year, so we lost our.
You were there just 11 months?
Yes, we moved in December, and then we moved in September, really.
Oh, okay.
It was only about 10 months we
10
lived
months,
there.
yeah.
Okay, so then you moved in what year out to Phoenix?
69.
69.
September of 69. Well, we got here October.
First.
October 2nd of 69.
Okay, and you just pretty well moved yourself. How did you, you paid a moving company to move your furniture, and you just drove out here?
Sure, they paid a moving company to move us out here, yeah.
Jim was graduated from Purdue by that time.
Graduated and was married.
By that
A
time.
year later.
No, he got
We
married.
went down to, while he was married, we went down to Purdue.
He was married in August, and we moved in October, or September and October. He was married in 69.
But he wasn't graduated then, he graduated.
No, he didn't graduate till a year later.
Okay. Dad, when you were a boy, where did you go to grade school?
Me?
Yeah.
I went 1 year to a country school. What? I don't remember the name of it. But then I had chicken pox,
You shouldn't have been kissing all those chickens.
jaundice, yellow jaundice, and whatnot. And the next year, they transferred me, they sent me to Atwood, Indiana, to school, and I was put back. My first year didn't count because I had missed so much. So I started a year later as a first grade in Atwood, Indiana. And I went all the way through my schooling in Atwood, Indiana.
Now, was that...
What?
Then you went to normal.
Well, went on a normal for 12 weeks, that's all.
and before that, you were in an abnormal school?
Yeah.
And then he got a certificate to teach, and he could have been a teacher, but he was scared of kids, so he became a farmer.
So it became a farmer and then raised kids. Right?
Well, the big reason was we had a 4-cylinder
Your dad got
Chevy. And Dad was out cranking it one day. He wanted to crank it to start it we had a self-starter on it, but for some reason Dad was cranking. and he had advanced a spark on it, and the thing kicked him and broke his arm. Well, they had the corn crop and everything else to get done, so I never even went to teaching. I was offered a job of teaching, but I never took it. I stayed home that fall and got the corn crop in.
Okay. Then, how big was that grade school you went to? How many kids were in it?
Oh, God, I don't remember now.
There were 5 of them graduated from high school.
Well, honey, the grade school, the first grade school I went, I might have had about 20, 25 kids in, all grades.
And what high school?
One teacher.
What high school did you go to?
Atwood High School.
Where's Atwood?
Just west of Warsaw there, that last little town that we come through to Warsaw.
Is that right?
You don't remember?
Okay, now where did you go to grade school, Mom?
Well, I started at St. Stanislaus, and I went to...
Isn't that where the nuns taught in Polish?
Yes, and English too. We had morning Polish and afternoon English.
Which
And
group were you in?
You want me to stop? And when I made my communion, Grandpa took me out of school and put me in Linden School, as he did Clara. And I finished at Linden School and high school, Central High.
Why did he take you out of St. Stanislaus?
Because he didn't think their teaching was up to standard. He thought I'd get more out of public school.
Is that right?
Yes.
I never knew that.
He was marvelous. He had no education, but he was a self-educated man, and he was terrific. He was a very brilliant man.
And then you went to
Central
South Bend.
High, and Clara and I, at that time, were the only ones in
Who were
the
white?
family that went and graduated from a high school. All my cousins never went any farther than the 8th grade, and then were put in a shirt factory to work. But my father said, my children will have education.
Huh.
So he was great to us.
Okay. Dad, how far did Grandpa Goshert get in school?
I have no idea.
He was a very well-educated man.
He was, he never spoke about his high school, although he did go to Valparaiso University
And
for about a year or
and
so.
studied voice.
Yeah.
He was telling us about it. He would study voice. Then
I don't know, for the elementary schooling, I remember him talking about walking to school. I think he went to the same school I went to through, that is the first year I went, through the 8th grade.
Well, he played the violin, didn't he?
No. Dad played the violin.
He was a...
You played the violin?
Yes.
Oh, they give me lessons. I never played.
You don't look like a violin player.
I
Honey,
didn't care
we
for it.
gave you lessons on a piano for a long time, and you were even in concert, recitals and everything.
Yeah, but I
Do
played.
you play the piano now?
No,
you don't
because
even know notes.
my first rehearsal, I played the entire thing backwards, and that's when I thought I'd better stop.
Yes.
What was I going to ask you? How big was Warsaw, like when you were 20 years old?
That's terrible.
About,
Maybe about 10.
it was about 5,000, right around 5,000.
Where did Grandpa's parents come from? Warsaw area?
No, they was on the farm. Dad's parents were my grandparents. Were out on the farm, not too far from where I was born.
Oh, Warsaw area.
Yeah,
Why did
in the
they,
Warsaw area.
Why did they call you Fuzzy when you were a kid?
Oh, no.
They what?
How come they called you Fuzzy when you were a kid?
I had a big cousin. He was a cousin of mine, and
He was nutty.
he says one day we were out. I forget what we were doing.
And your whiskers there.
You know, and Harold, I'm going to call you Fuzzy. I said, why? Well, you ain't got a nickname, so we'll call you Fuzzy. And that sucker, he started that, and everybody, half the people down there didn't know my name.
Is that right? How old were you when he started that?
Huh?
How old were you when you started that?
Oh, I was about 11, 12.
In Warsaw, it didn't pay to name children because everybody had a crazy nickname.
Huh.
They never called them by their name.
And you were pretty athletic when you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
Played a lot of basketball. And
Basketball, baseball.
were you in the rodeo back there in Warsaw? Did you
No, no rodeo.
punched any doggies or anything?
No.
How many, like, what did you grow mostly? What was the big crops that you very much then, huh?
No.
And you decided that farm life wasn't for you after a while.
You never asked when we graduated from high school.
When did you graduate from high school?
I graduated in 1918. High school.
From Atwood High.
Now, Atwood High, yeah.
And Ma?
And I graduated in June.
1923.
Thank you very much.
And when did you just had your 60th
Anniversary.
back in South Bend last June. And
Beautiful time.
Dad had a great time at that.
I had a wonderful time.
You said you'll never go to her 60th high school reunion again, right?
No, because I won't have any 60th, but he'll go 65th.
You're going to have a 65th? Are they already making plans?
Yes, they're already. In fact, they're meeting every year. Every year when you go there, but 65th will be our big.
Okay.
I should live so long.
Okay. When what boy are you most proud of? Which one of us are you most proud of?
John Joseph, William Clement, and Harold James.
Harold
and Dick.
James.
I love them all.
Yeah,
they
but
are wonderful kids.
which one was your?
Dick is just terrific. When we go down there.
Yeah, but which one is your favorite though?
We didn't have any favorites.
That's not what you told me.
Well, never had any favorites
You
whatsoever.
had
I know
a
you
big
wanted.
dream.
I know you wanted to get me to get married. Every time you used to tell me
We wanted you to go to college, and we were doggone disappointed.
Well, how come? I thought you wanted
the Air Force.
I thought you wanted me to get married because you always used to say, "Son, I'd sure like to give you away."
Yeah.
To the garbage man.
To the garbage man. Okay, is there a final message that you would like to say as a termination of this tape to all of your sons and your grandsons and your granddaughters and your daughter-in-laws and all that jazz? You want me to turn it off and think about it first?
No, I'll say what I say.
Okay.
I want you all to get along. Don't invade each other, because life has been good to every one of you. You've got wonderful families. And just believe in God, because He has done great things for us. And if you keep on, I'm sure you'll have a great life.
Deutschen, you got your last statement you want to make?
Last will and
Well, if I start, I'm afraid I'll never quit. But
what do you think is most important in life?
be good to your wives.
well,
What if
the
you don't
thing
want
of it
to?
is the most important thing in your life is your family comes first, and treat your family as you would like to be treated yourself.
Okay.
And I know, now Mother and I, we've lived for 53 years, and we have never went to bed mad at each other. And I can remember. Maybe she went to bed mad at me, but I didn't know it if she did.
Well,
But, you know, in life, you give and take. And it's 50-50. And if you have to give, so what? Because you're going to take as much as you give before it's over with.
isn't that that's what the Republicans say? How come you're so democratic?
Well, that's what the Republicans say, but they don't do it.
All righty.
Just remember, love is trust. Trust is love. When you lose trust, you lose love. Always remember, trust your children, trust your wife, and you'll get along beautifully.
All right. This was the historical tape of the Gosher-Turchinsky tribe, and you were there.